This is the Wayne Podcast by Sylvester Romero
and Benoit Chestnut on this week's Takedown Thursdays. It's a new segment started by the weigh-in. We're going to go Takedown Thursdays covering wrestling, scholastic wrestling, freestyle wrestling, USA wrestling.
Yes.
And amongst on today's episode, we will speak about USA Wrestling's team title, New Jersey boy Sebastian Rivera's World Championship final spot, and the new rules of Division I wrestling. It may all seem confusing, but there are a few rule changes that have gone through. They made a rule change to the reaction time. They have gotten rid of reaction time, and they have now added 3-point takedowns. And in tonight's match that we saw, Campbell Wrestling versus Army, we saw a very huge difference in that 3-point takedown, making the difference between some matches being overtime and other matches not going into overtime, resulting in a win. The dual meet resulted in Campbell's win over Army, but the 3-point takedown was the spotlight of the night. And we will also get off to talking about the very big looming question of who will be this year's national champion wrestling. And we will get in and breaking down who's got the best lineup in guys and who's potential to be beat. This is this week's Takedown Tuesdays by the weigh-in. So as we're going to hit into this, we're going to talk about Team USA's lustful World Championship run. So as we talk about that, there were a lot of guys on Team USA that did well. You had Kyle Dake, who was scoring very well. You had Kyle Snyder scoring very well. You had a lot of other guys that were scoring very well. David Taylor scoring very well. And David Taylor, as we saw David Taylor tonight at the Campbell versus Army match, he was a commentary host for that match tonight of Campbell versus Army. That was on UFC Fight Pass. But amongst that, there were a lot of good wrestlers for Team USA. And we think that Team USA, you could say, is in a brighter place as they have now taken another World Championship team title.
Yes.
So as we're going to jump the gears here, as we talked about Team USA, we're going to get right into those new college wrestling rules.
Exactly.
So the new college wrestling rules that have taken place is the 3-point takedowns. So it's no longer 2 takedown. You're going to start saying 3 takedown.
Yes.
As the new rule has changed in college, and they've totally gotten rid of the elimination of reaction time. Reaction time was there when, you go in, you get behind a guy, and you go ahead and you give him a big lift, and you return him, and in the previous season, it was about, how much the reaction time. They have totally eliminated reaction time in a total sense. Now there's not much, you don't get much time. There's not much time for you to react off of the 3-point takedowns. And as we saw tonight with Campbell versus Army, that was the big difference between the dual meet at some of the weight classes that you saw. Army was very close, but those 3-point takedowns is what led them away from the match into the dual meet. Would you agree, Sebastian?
Yes, I agree completely.
So that was the big difference between that. And do you think that college wrestling is going to be more of a competitive season now that they've added the 3-point takedowns and have removed that reaction time?
It's going to be way better.
What I think it's going to eliminate is a little bit of scrambling. So, when a guy gets a takedown and they try to scramble and they say reaction time, you may see the call go 3 takedown, and then if the other guy wins the scramble, it may go reversal.
Exactly.
The only problem I see with that is when you're going to go stills mate, a guy could have done a lot of work and the other guy could have not tried to do a lot of work. They go stills mate, and then now you have a problem. You go stills mate, now you're on bottom, and you're saying, well, no, we were tied up in a scramble. So I do see the epidemic there with some of those rule changes. But amidst that, college wrestling is going to be a nice and competitive season because now you're going to fight harder not to get taken down because you're giving up not 2 points, but the 3 points.
Exactly.
So with that new 3-point, do you think that with the analytics that we've looked at, do you think that this is going to be a problem for these Penn State guys that like to get 1 takedown and try to get 2 turns or try to stall a little bit in a couple periods? Do you think that with that, that could be a problem for some of these top level schools that are all about getting the takedown and really stalling? And as we saw tonight, sorry to not let you answer, but as we saw tonight, the officials were very reactive on guys not working. So do you think that a guy not working and with the guys not working and them looking to stall more that top man, do you think that's going to pose a problem for the Penn State guys?
Yes, it's going to be way harder for them.
So you think for the Penn State wrestling boys, it is going to be harder?
Exactly, yes.
So you think it's going to be harder because of the new rule changes?
Yes.
And I would almost in a sense agree with you, but they have some very nice pounders over there. They have Jersey Boy, Robert Howard. They have Carter Starachi. They have really good guys that are really great wrestlers over there. And that's great for them. But I think that this is a year where you're now going a 3-point takedown.
Yes.
And this is going to make the difference if they go down early or if they get tossed or if they get... Because now not only if you go that 3-point takedown, think about it here. You go that 3-point takedown, and then if you take him right down to his back, that's a 4-point move that'll turn in. You have your 4-point move, and then your 3-point takedown, which will give you 7. Because you have the 4. You're gonna get you're gonna have the 3-point takedown. So you're gonna get your 3 points for the takedown, and then you're getting a 4-point reversal move. So you know, if we're doing a little bit of quick math here, is we know a little bit of math. We're gonna go the 4 and the 3. You'll go 5, 6, 7. That's 7-point move reversal.
Yes.
It's gonna be a 7-point turn for a guy if they get right up against a Penn State guy or any guy that's ranked. You're gonna get the takedown. You take him down to his back. A quick 4 points. Now, as the other guy that has now been taken down and turned, you're in a 7-point deficit.
Exactly.
Whereas before, you wouldn't have been in a 7-point deficit. You would have been behind that 6 points.
Yes.
That's 6 point. Now it's a 7 point. So we're going to switch over and talk about a guy who had a really good world championships. His name is Sebastian Rivera. Started off at Northwestern. Did a little bit of wrestling for Rutgers University. And Sebastian Rivera was an illustrious guy. And if many of you don't remember, this is taking it back. If many of you don't remember, he was the guy that pinned Patrick Glory with 1 second left on the clock in the New Jersey State Finals. So Sebastian Rivera is a guy that wrestles for Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. He's wrestling to try to make the Olympics. And at this year's World Championships, he was a World Championship finalist. I think you would agree, when we saw Sebastian Rivera in college, he was a great wrestler. Suppose when he got out, amidst a few World Championship struggles, you can see now he has definitely aged to become a better wrestler, making the World Championship finals.
Yes, he's also good to some good grappling.
You could agree. You could agree that he's got some good wrestling going on. Very good wrestling going on. You can see that Sebastian Rivera has a lot of heart in him. You can tell he's changed, and a lot of energy. When we saw the video, I showed you the video of him right after, I believe it was the World Championship semis, or it was one of the World Championship matches. He goes, woo! He was very excited knowing that he has gone to a new height in his career and he has done a lot. I think for Sebastian Rivera, he's got a good future ahead of him. I think it's really great. And I think that he's getting better. He's learning. And it tells that some of these RTCs that they wrestle for, it is a good structure.
Yes.
This is wrestling. And, amidst us on our takedown Thursdays, we are going to cover that wrestling. So tonight we talk about that Campbell versus Army match. Campbell won it. It was a really good match. There were a couple weights that I really liked. The lighter weights had some good movement. We also saw, a lot of good wrestling between the weight classes. You saw like 25, we thought was a very eventful match. We thought that 33 was really good. 41 was really good. Even the heavyweights had a good match there. And that was a really good match that we're going through. And it was really, there were a few matches that went into overtime that were really good that you saw. They didn't get the riding time point, and they caught themselves back up after the 3-point takedown. And those matches were very interesting because, as a wrestler, it always excites me to see a good overtime because it's down to that last takedown, the last thing that you can get, and it really precedes itself as an interesting event. Amidst covering our wrestling, we did watch a little bit of Super 32.
Yes.
We saw some stuff, some more guys committing. If we talk about that Cornell wrestling recruiting, that recruiting at Cornell is really good.
Exactly.
Really good over at Cornell. You gotta think they landed a lot of good wrestlers that says Cornell is stacking up.
Yes.
with Vito Arujau and Yanni, you know, former in wrestling, still there at Cornell. You say that those are really good guys. I say former and still wrestling because, you know, nowadays you could not be wrestling for the college team and be with the RTC as they do the regional training center, if you don't know what RTC means. But, you know, Cornell is stacking up the wrestlers.
Yes.
They're stacking it up. And I think you got to watch out for Cornell Wrestling.
Exactly.
Because Cornell Wrestling is going to be coming for you because they're stacking up all these big Jersey boys. And these Jersey boys are really great wrestlers. And it's really good that they're stacking up with these Jersey boys. And I think, you know, two things to go across. Jersey boys are getting a good education and they're getting a good wrestling team. And I think when those guys get in there and Cornell gets really coaching them, they could possibly be a team to come get a national title or to be a national placer. But, you know, in a perfect world, and I think that it's getting perfect for Cornell, I think that they could see a team title. If all these guys live up to every expectation they have done, I think these Jersey boys are coming to scrap, and I think Cornell is going to have it going.
Yes.
I think Cornell is going to be going. So, you know, I know we didn't talk, we were going to talk about this, but as an Oregon Duck fan, what would it feel to see the Oregon Ducks with a wrestling program?
That would be awesome because we need another championship.
So you think the Oregon Ducks rolling a wrestling program would be really nice?
I love that.
You would love the Ducks as wrestling. Now, do you think wrestling is a sport more colleges should have?
Yes, because it's an exciting sport.
So as a non-wrestler, you love watching wrestling.
I love watching wrestling.
You love to see the lustful takedowns and the scoring.
Exactly. Yes, everything.
So you would say to schools thinking about getting rid of the sport of wrestling that they're not making a mistake, but they need to really think, is wrestling to go?
They need wrestling.
You're right. They need wrestling. And you know, as we talk about wrestling, what does wrestling make? Really good football players, right?
And
really good football players. You look at how long you say. You look at the offensive linemen on some of your Division I football programs.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how many of those wrestlers are state champions. At one point, Iowa's whole offensive line was all state champs.
Yes.
They were all state championship wrestlers. State championship wrestlers. So if you're a football player and you're saying, I'm not doing good on defense, I'm not really doing that well, learn yourself some wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling. You know, and many times as me and Sebastian watch NFL football, you'll see some of those tacklers, when they get in big hits, they'll drive the tackler almost into a double leg takedown. And you can tell that this is what causes a lot of good takedowns in football, and it translates hand in hand.
Yes.
Wrestlers make absolute great football players. That's why a lot of your top schools, you'll see some of those football players, they're wrestlers. They're wrestlers because wrestling brings aggression, football has aggression, and wrestling will bring you great football players.
Yes.
It brings amazing football players. And as we will be doing more Takedown Thursdays and covering divisional wrestling, we will bring you the hottest takes of D1 wrestling. That is the thing that we will bring to you as our fans of the Weigh-In podcast, because Division I wrestling is back. The wrestling madness is here.
And we're the best content.
The best content.
Yeah.
The best content of wrestling. We're going to get it going. And as us two boys of the Weigh-In, you know, in the past couple weeks, we've gotten to a couple football games. We posted about a couple football games. As midst we go to Roselle Park, and we are in the middle of making our NJSIAA wrestling schedule. And when I say that, I mean that we are seeing what matches are we going to go to. What are the hottest matches in New Jersey this year that are going to come across? Because it is going to be good. It's going to be really good in NJ Wrestling this year. As you know, NJ Wrestling is it's always good. Atlantic City, the bright lights of Atlantic City, the NJ Wrestling, the regional tournaments, and the season is back and we are ready.
To rumble.
You know the season's coming when you hear Super 32 came around. Super 32 brought some huge huge upsets.
Yes, it did.
I say huge because it was huge. I think in one of the brackets, a first seed wrestler went down.
Exactly.
He might have been 1 or 2 seed, but he went down. And that's what happens. The Wrestling Madness brings Super 32 to us. Wrestling Madness. And that's what we're calling it, the Wrestling Madness. Wrestling is very good. So, my senior year when I was wrestling in high school, you were going to a lot of matches.
Yes.
Amidst a Panther good year. And as you see, a Panther good year, you say, this is wrestling, right? You enjoyed it.
Wrestling is the future.
Wrestling is the future. Wrestling teaches a lot of character that a lot of people don't understand. They say, well, wrestling's about, hard weight cuts. And what you don't understand, in a good weight cut, you learn discipline.
Exactly.
You learn how to discipline yourself.
Yes.
And the discipline goes a long way. The discipline goes from the classroom up. You notice a lot of good student athletes are you look at some of those college wrestling team averages.
Yes.
And a lot of them are high. Because these wrestling translates.
Yes.
Wrestling really translates. So let's swing over and let's talk about the growing sensation all around the country. I know we didn't talk about, we were going to mention this, but girls wrestling taking the storm, numbers rising. What do you think about the rising numbers of girls wrestling? And from your knowledge, do you think that it is a rocket? It's taking off.
Girls wrestling is going to be awesome.
So you would say that in this takeoff that you're going to see a lot more teams pop up. In our area and a lot of areas, you're going to see that girls wrestling it's coming in the best way and the nicest way it can. And, as on the way in, as big sports guys, we love to see new sports. We love to see something coming in it. And it's not that it's brand new. They've always had it at the Olympic level. So now it's getting bigger. And as the weigh-in, we're going to cover it all. We're going to bring you guys all the content. And today's video is basically sitting here giving you the unveiling of Takedown Thursdays. And with the unveiling of Takedown Thursdays, it is bringing you the biggest, hottest sensation that Division I wrestling is back.
The best wrestling in the
So
world.
let's go over to what we did last year. Last year, we ran bracketry for the national championships with our friends where we counted team score. How would you say that was experience from your standpoint? From your standpoint of where you had your guys, you drafted your guys and how it felt?
For me, the guys I drafted, I did really good because I knew they were going to win and they won.
So does the analytics, now that you run the weigh-in and you're on the weigh-in, does the analytics of that now take over to say that this is something you like, that now you think that you're going to be able to pick good guys again?
Yes, I keep winning.
So now that you run the weigh-in, you say you have an advantage because you know all the analytics?
Yes, the weigh-in is awesome.
It's going to be real different with those 3-point takedowns, I'll tell you. But we did have bracketry with our friends. I know we didn't mention that in the beginning, but we did a little bit of that with our friends. But, aside from that, covering the hottest wrestling, the Brands brothers at Iowa Wrestling have a really good way of coaching.
Yes.
Brands brothers. The Brands brothers do really well. And it's really great that the son of the Brands is coming back with a medical hardship. So he will be back one more season.
Yes.
To wrestle. And I think Iowa Wrestling is even at a top heightened. And, we're going to switch a little gears. We've seen a lot of new wrestling facilities at a lot of these colleges. I know Iowa's building a room. I know the South Dakota State University built themselves a new room. That's a format room. So from a guy that, you're not a wrestling guy, you didn't wrestle, but from a wrestling fan standpoint, you're a wrestling fan, what do you like about some of these new wrestling rooms? The fact that they're, Do you like that they're bigger rooms? What do you see as a quality as a wrestling fan but not wrestler in some of these new wrestling rooms? Remember, I showed you all the wrestling rooms. What do you see? What do you like about these new wrestling rooms?
I like that they're bigger. There's more mats everywhere, so you can see more people wrestle at a time. I love how they put their logos on the center mat to make everything look good.
So you like the branding of these wrestling
Yes.
rooms? You like how when they practice, there's more room. When they do things, there's a lot more room. And what would you say to some of these older rooms that kind of get along?
I say you should upgrade and get bigger room.
What do you say to like a Penn State that has a really good room, but they're national champs every year? Do you don't really need the room, or do you say, you're national champs, you deserve the upgrade?
If they're winning, they could keep what they have. I think they should get an upgrade so they could get better and better.
One of the best rooms I like is Ohio State has a really nice room, tall ceiling.
That's beautiful.
They have a nice 5-mat room. The Jennings wrestling facility is absolutely amazing.
Jazz.
And amidst seeing a lot of wrestling facilities, do you think that some of these schools are going to start doing more wrestling tournaments?
Yes.
So you think that there's going to be a lot more college wrestling tournaments. And so a lot of these schools do open tournaments and some schools do invitationals, but you think that it's going to be really good?
Yeah, I think wrestling is going to be all over the world. It's going to take over.
Well, wrestling is all over the world at a freestyle level. They do have freestyle wrestling all over. To my knowledge, just about every country has a freestyle team. They all bring a freestyle team. So with that, you enjoy the freestyle wrestling aspect of how a lot of these countries are bringing freestyle wrestling.
Exactly, yes.
So amidst going to the wrestling topic, is your goal here to see more wrestling this year?
Yes, a lot more.
A lot more wrestling. So is there any teams and any colleges in particular that you think are going to be a marquee that you would like to see?
I want to see Army more, Navy more, and Air Force more.
So you want to see all three a little more. So your former national champs are Penn State. Cornell's got a good team. Iowa's running a good team. Rutgers is looking stacked right now. And I think that they're bright. This could be a good season for Rutgers. So you want to see the marquee. You think the Army-Navy yearly matchup is going to be good?
Yes. But I think the best one is going to be Rutgers.
So you think you're going to want to see a lot of Rutgers wrestling, New Jersey wrestling there?
Rutgers wrestlers, they put their love into it.
Rutgers has great wrestling. The other day we saw the Princeton wrestle-offs. Princeton University wrestle-offs that were in their wrestling room. They posted a YouTube video and we saw the Princeton wrestling.
Yes.
We were not at Princeton. We don't want to confuse you there. We were not at Princeton for the wrestle-offs, but we saw on YouTube the wrestle-offs in the Princeton wrestling room and some tight wrestling.
Yes, we did.
Some tight wrestling. Tight. You saw, as you would say, would you say some of those takedowns were nice?
Yeah, really nice. They won.
So do you think younger wrestlers, it was a team match where they faced each other. So there wasn't really a winner. It's for the weight classes where people are saying, okay, weight class. So when I say that, like 125, those guys wrestled off for the spot at 125. 133, they wrestled off. Weight class.
Yeah.
So would you say that after seeing the video, younger wrestlers can benefit from watching the Princeton wrestling wrestle-offs?
100% yes.
Would you say that there's a lot that they can learn from the mistakes and from, the choices?
They could look better, they could fix their mistakes, and they could be like the other wrestlers.
Yeah. So what would you say in, a training standpoint is the best way for a wrestler who may not be getting the best wrestling, that he's not getting himself 100% full percent out of his wrestling? And what would you suggest for a wrestler like that? What is your best piece of advice, as you newly started boxing? When you started boxing, what was something that you did to kind of learn more boxing other than, I guess in the gym, outside, what was something that you learned?
I mean, for wrestling, I think they should find the better school that does wrestling, the better coach, so they could teach you, and look at a lot of YouTube videos and learn from.
So you
them.
say YouTube. So you say watching other people wrestle in film is what helps good wrestling.
Yeah, do what they're doing. Try it, and you're gonna be better.
Yeah. So do you also say trust your coaches?
Yes, trust your coaches.
Trust your coaches. They're coaches for a reason, right?
Exactly.
And would you say going to clinics of seeing, those people like world champs, great coaches show some of their stuff is a good idea?
Yes.
So your best advice to a guy who may be doing, or a girl or an individual doing a sport, you would say, okay, the first thing you should do is watch your film, watch your YouTube video. If there's any local clinics, try to attend local clinics.
Yes.
That I would agree with you. That is a great way for somebody to learn more about what they do and get better at their wrestling.
Yeah.
The best thing you can always do is record yourself, a match or two. Sit down with maybe your coach and say, what did I do wrong here? And that's a really good time to do it. When we were in college, when I was in college, the best thing, my college wrestling, my college that I was at, Wilkes University, the best thing we did was the coach would have us schedule after the matches were recorded. He would have us schedule office time to sit there, and he would go over the match with us sitting there and say, you see what you're doing there? That really benefited us as a college program. That sit down and looking and saying, he would send us out a nice little Google sheet. We'd all have to put our names on it, and we would go in at our time, and he would go over our match. We would do that, if we wrestled on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday. Either way, it was Monday, Tuesday. Right away, he would get to it.
Yes.
Right away, he would do that for us. And I think that was the difference maker for me. When I made mistakes, knowing that I could schedule a Monday to go see the coach, and he would look it over and tell me, this is what you're doing, and then go to practice and really help myself. That's, the best thing to do. Do you kind of see that self when sometimes you film yourself boxing in the gym? Do you sometimes say, maybe I need to fix this punch and fix that punch?
Exactly, yes.
So amidst of that, you think that is a good idea for people to try to film themselves doing their sports, to try to see, what they're doing wrong, what they can do better.
Yeah, so then they can fix it.
So then they can fix their mistakes.
Exactly.
So you think that is a good technique.
Yes, that's a great strategy.
A great strategy, great technique. So you see that is a good way to handle wrestling, a good way to handle boxing, a good way to handle, and what would you say is your nice preparation before going into the gym? What do you mentally prepare yourself? Do you physically prepare yourself? What are some of the things that, you do to kind of help yourself? Do you go over a video maybe before look at boxing? Do you try to learn new things before? What is your technique here?
My technique is always sleep good. So you're always sleep good. So you wake up and you're ready. Then if you want to look at some YouTube videos, you can, but make sure you're wide awake and you have energy. So then when you go to the wrestling wing or the
wrestling gym
or
wrestling club
or boxing academy, you already you're strong and you're able to do it.
You're ready to go.
Yes.
And
the energy.
And coming from a standpoint, you don't want to overlook, some of the bars of the sport, but there are similarities with boxing and wrestling.
Yes.
Making weight, having to, you make weight, you weigh in,
Mm-hmm.
You're stepping on a scale either way. And some of the same things are, boxing, you don't cross your feet. You wrestle, you don't cross your feet.
Yes.
Some of the footwork is good stuff, but the really similar sport to wrestling is football. football hand in hand.
Yes.
It really goes a long way. So, with the way you open your training, your regimen, has this led you to say that you have a routine to what you do? Do you always stick to your routine, or is there sometimes a change or two?
No, normally I stick to my routine.
So you found that what you do is the well rest, the watching the YouTube videos, the going there and feeling energetic, the training hard, all pays off.
Yes.
And you think that is the one piece of advice you would give a young wrestler, young athlete, would be train hard.
Yes, train hard. It doesn't matter if you're tired or not, but just keep training hard and hard.
Put the hard work in.
Yes. Never miss a day. Just keep going and going at it. You need it, and it's gonna pay off.
In the end, it pays off.
Exactly. Yes.
So what would be your best piece of advice to an athlete that may not be doing well? If you're somebody watching this and to an athlete that they wanted to try a sport, they were doing a sport, they got cut. What is your best piece of advice to an athlete that did not make that team?
I think if you got cut, it wasn't meant to be, but that's only where, if you say you got cut from Oregon, that it wasn't meant to be, but don't give up. Keep working hard, make your way go up, and try going to another school to wrestle.
So if a team, so as we are on Takedown Thursday, so some other states other than New Jersey, they have, or it may be some schools in New Jersey, some schools have the people try out for wrestling, and we do know this is Takedown Thursday, but we're going to bring this into a general sports consensus. So if they get cut, what is your best piece of advice?
I think just keep trying harder so that when you try it next year, you can make it.
So you say if an athlete gets cut, go to a wrestling club.
Yes, go somewhere else and keep trying because you're gonna get in somewhere.
So what would you say to an athlete? Is it the same for an athlete that maybe lost his wrestle off and now is on JV instead of varsity?
It won't matter because if you keep training hard, you're going to go back to varsity and you're going to be the way you are. And if the coach doesn't want you to put you in, then you go somewhere else where you could be even better than you were.
Yeah, but trust your training, trust your coaches.
Exactly.
This is a good wrestling year. This is a big wrestling year because rule changes in college, and this is we think that's going to be good wrestling in New Jersey. So
yes, the coaches could be annoying, they could be a pain, but everything they're doing is for your good. So you could be a better wrestler. You got to listen to them no matter if they scream me or anything. They just love you and they want you to do better for the team.
Yeah, they want you to do the best you can do, and I think that your coaches will do what they can to help you.
Exactly. What's necessary.
What's necessary to help you. Athletes, a young sports, it's not always easy. It's not always easy, but trusting the process, staying on the grind, you will see results.
Exactly. Perfect.
You will get there.
Stay in your grind.
When you stay on your grind and you would say you don't cheat, you don't try to put in a bunch of cheat days, you learn that there is a lot of good coming out of that.
Yes.
And you would agree.
Yes.
So with a lot of good coming out of it, we say young athletes, high school athletes, you will get where you need to be when you put good work in.
Exactly.
You learn a lot. You can learn a lot from YouTube.
Yes. It teaches
Technique,
you
videos, all the time, we're posting videos. I know I posted a video not too long ago about a girl who was sitting in a chair with her boyfriend, and he tried a jiu-jitsu move, leg locking his girlfriend, and she came right out of it and showed him how to really leg lock. And I thought it was a nice video because it showed that not that one's better than the other. It showed that one has learned more than the other in their progressive sports of jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
And jiu-jitsu, you would say, is, that translates also. You need wrestling with jiu-jitsu.
Yes, exactly.
You need a lot of wrestling with jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe it? Wrestling and jiu-jitsu go. Football and wrestling go. I think it's a building year.
It's a building process. Yes.
It's a building process with wrestling. It's a building process with boxing hand in hand. But on Takedown Thursdays, this is it. So what did you think about that? We're going to bring it back to that Campbell Wrestling Army match. Campbell win. What did you think about it?
I think he wrestled really good.
You mean the team, because it's a team of wrestling.
Oh, yeah. The team wrestled good. They kept their eye on their opponents to see what were they going to do so you could trick them and do something else to them. And they paid attention. That's how they kept pinning their guys.
I wouldn't want to tell you they were pinning their guys because there were not a lot of pins in that match, if any. But it was a good wrestling event.
It was good. For them trying, it was good.
So, Army? I mean, it was pretty good. It was a lot of wrestling.
They could be better, but for the way they're doing, they're way up there.
Yeah, well, Campbell Wrestling is really good right now, and Army Wrestling is really good. But when you get up against tough match guys, it's all about you got to do what you want to do, and you got to get to your offense.
Exactly.
One thing that helped me through college was not a quote, not a lot of things. I had a little whiteboard in my room, and it only said one thing: 6 minutes. The 6-minute thing that I had on there meant that there are 6 minutes in a match for you to put yourself on top. You're in high school, you have 5 minutes. 5-minute matches in high school, I believe.
Yes.
5-minute matches in high school. But for my college, I had 6 minutes up there. Exactly. The full time of the match. And he can contest. He called me on FaceTime once and said, "Why does that whiteboard say 6 minutes?" I explained to him, that's how much time in a wrestling match I have to score, to end on top. And I broke it down even further after I explained it to him. I went from 6 minutes, I went a 3-minute first period, and then I went 2-2.
Yes.
So I knew that by each minute I wanted to be on top, and that's the way I looked at it. And I said all the time when we were practicing in the wrestling room to my drilling partner, I used to say, you have 6 minutes. You have 6 minutes to show that you deserve to win.
Exactly.
And in those 6 minutes, that's what you have to do to show that you need to win. And that's what I went across as my quote. I learned 6 minutes, Yes. That was my quote. I had 6 minutes on a whiteboard. And my roommate at the time said to me, my roommate even said it, you don't want to put a quote? I put where Nationals was at 6 minutes.
That's good.
I may have never made Nationals, but I knew where it was. And I knew how much time I had in each match to be on top.
Yes.
And it was very short. It was a very short, just 6 minutes. It wasn't, 6 minutes to win. It was just 6 minutes. And it was just one of those things that went with me. I lived by 6 minutes.
Yes.
I had 6 minutes to either pin the guy, 6 minutes to either win, 6 minutes to do what I had to do. And that was my quote, the 6-minute quote. I don't even know you can really call it a quote. I just said 6 minutes.
Exactly.
That's what I told myself before a match. I got 6 minutes. You may get more, you may get less. But in the end, you're still given a 6-minute match to win.
Yes.
And that was my quote. And I think that, from a sports performance standpoint, it helped me perform very well, because when I stopped thinking about what rank my opponent was and who he was, and I just started thinking, I have 6 minutes to get to my offense.
Yes.
That's when I really started saying, that was the game changer. Not worrying about what seed he was, what school he was from, worrying about, I have 6 minutes to get to my offense. That was really what I worried about, and I grew that quote in college. And had I had that in high school, it would have probably helped me succeed a little more, because high school, I thought so much about, oh, well, that guy, won counties. That guy did that. And I should have focused a little more on, like my quote in college was. College, 6 minute match, 6 minutes. Thinking about the time it is to end that match, opposed to thinking about, oh, that guy's ranked, that guy beat so-and-so. Worry about how many minutes I got, may get more, may get less.
Yes.
And by the end of my senior year of college, that's what was on my board. You have 6 minutes. You may get more, you may get less.
Yes.
But get to your offense.
Exactly.
And that's what I had. You saw it on the whiteboard. I had a little whiteboard in my dorm room, and it said 6 minutes. You may get more, you may get less. Mm-hmm. But get to your offense. And I still think about it. It's what I have. And even in boxing, I kind of don't think that way, because, your rounds are a little longer. But, that was my thought for wrestling. 6 minutes. In college, 6 minutes, and it was a really good sports performance way for me. So that's what I thought about. But amidst our wrestling news, a lot of big things coming around wrestling.
Yes.
A lot of big things. Some kids in college are redshirting, others are not. It's a good year, it's a good class. So we talk about Penn State has a chance to have a 4-time national champ. Carter Starachi. He's got good wrestling. He's very tight. Do you think he could cap it off?
Yes, I think he can.
You heard it here first. Carter Starachi. So, amidst that, there's a lot of good on Penn State's lineup. Our own Jersey boy, Robert Howard, is at Penn State. And hopefully we could see a great year out of him.
Yes.
A good year out of Robert Howard. It'd be great to see a good year out of Robert Howard. As we watch college wrestling and all wrestling, we really love to see our Jersey boys really wrestle really well.
Yes.
And there were quite a few Jersey boys at last year's Wrestling Nationals. So, wrestling is very well. Got our Jersey boys moving and a lot of their wrestling going. But as we get off to the wrestling, the World Championships, Team USA, Sebastian Rivera getting through and through what he was able to do. And we can even go and say the wrestling class, the recruiting of Cornell, at a very well. Well, this is it. This is the weigh-in signing off. But we bring to you Takedown Thurdays.
And once again, this is the Wave Podcast by Social Mar.
And then watch Chestnut.
Stay tuned for Takedown Thursdays.
Takedown Thursdays.
Oh.